This is Ashish R. Bidekar and welcome to my podcast, The ARB Show. I'm thrilled to introduce today's guest, Prashant Subhedar. Prashant is my school buddy, so that makes this episode extra special. Prashant is currently the founder of Bang Design. He is an entrepreneur, industrial design, and mechanical engineer. He graduated in mechanical engineering from University of Pune in 1994. Later on, he went on to do his post-graduation in industrial design from IIT Delhi. Prashant learnt about industrial design after the graduation when he visited the IDC at IIT Mumbai. He found the answers to how products can be designed to look good, and he was bitten by his entrepreneurial bug during the time at IIT Delhi. And especially, I think the old Italian masters were kind of his inspiration, who designed everything from cars to coffee makers. Over 2.5 decades, Prashant has designed and engineered over 400 products. His specialty lies in bringing the first of line for any venture to reality. During this period, he has worked from cars to coffee makers, AI-enabled appliances, drones, and life-saving devices. Welcome to the show, Prashant. Do share your life journey and your vision of changing the Indian product landscape through design. Over to you.
Thanks for having me over, Ashish. And this is my first podcast, so that's my debut.
So that's great.
In my small baby steps. So yeah, I have been in this business for around 25 years now, and I have had the fortune to actually follow the Italian masters, doing everything from cars to coffee makers. In fact, my project in IIT Delhi was a coffee maker, and when I started off, I started working on a car project, though I did not do the full car, but I did start working on a car project. And my last 25 years have been quite fruitful. I've been fortunate to have developed, some of the very first things that were developed in India. So we got our break in this field for doing, from when we designed the Amida computer. So computer, or the simple computer, was India's first handheld, and it was developed by a group of scientists from IISc, and they started a venture called Picopita, and we were awarded the contract to design three versions of the computer depending on the spec, and the aim was that you could take it and everybody would be given a smart card, your data points, your BPL lives, all of that would be recorded on that, and it could be used as a government survey and record taking tool. Things didn't happen along the way, unfortunately for them, but we also had another first over here when we designed an electric pressure cooker for TTK Prestige. Now, it's not that electric pressure cookers are new, but TTK Prestige was the first to make an electric pressure cooker out of India, and we were the first people who had the honor to do the very first electric pressure cooker out of India. And where we made a difference was that most electric pressure cookers, if you have seen, are usually plastic boxes. You open up the lid and you see a little bit of a steel, and ours was like we exposed the main thing, which is the steel, because you're not cooking in plastic, you're cooking in steel. And we also got fortunate that TTK Prestige was also there was an American actress called Susan Somers from a serial called Three's Company, and she went on to endorse that product. So that was a first for them, a first for a product designed by us. And I think those were the points from where I think my journey of doing the first of every field started to take over. So we have been fortunate that we did a tech first. Like while in the iPod video launched over here, many people do not know that a local company here called ITIAM, ITTIAM, that is I think therefore I am, they also developed a video player, but they were more interested in selling the technology, and we designed we converted what was essentially a technology into a reference design that they could show around, saying, hey, this is ready to use, this is the tooling cost, take it, buy it, do what you want with it. And that design also won us a national award. And so that was one of the things. We also managed to do a marine asset tracking device. I mean, this is at the time when GPS tracking devices were at an infancy. and we got landed the job to do something for for people's yachts. So those were like things that happened, and one after the other, we found out that rather than doing a little bit of a styling or a cosmetic touch up, our sweet spot lied in helping companies find a niche, right? So it's what is the much hyped blue ocean theory.
Got it.
That is a market, there is no competition. So I prefer to call it as a yet uncontested market, because with the speed of development, you are uncontested for 6 months at the most.
Excellent,
But I think
excellent.
that's the time I think that my efforts will help you gain money.
Very nice, very nice.
Shopping is very fast. So yeah.
Great. So thanks, Prashant. So as discussed, I'd like to have a format in which the guest talks about top three do's and don'ts in a specific area. And since you are an expert and in industrial design, it would be great if you could share some perspective on top three do's and don'ts, and that would be very helpful for the audience. Over to you, Prashant.
All right.
So for example, in your view, what would be the first do which anyone should think about when they are looking at industrial design?
All right. So it's very easy to get away with, like, hey, I need to conform to a trend, or I need to do a particular thing so that it looks stylish. I am saying that is not the way to do it. You have to always put the end user and their concerns first, because if they don't buy your product or service, where are you going to get the money to put the food on your table, right? If you don't put their interests up at the core of your design, you will not get any USP. You will try and you will be also like how would I put it? You'll struggle for ideas, saying what should I do, right? I mean, because you are not thought about the end user first. So always think about the end user first. Make sure that see, if there is a particular task that they want to do, then the task should be achieved with the least number of steps. So for example, if you can, I'll give links later to you, Ashish. And for the monitor upbeat ECG tracker, it's like a real-time wearable ECG which you wear for around a week. The process is very easy. Peel open like a band-aid, stick the patch to your chest, take the pod, launch your app, it pairs up immediately, put it onto your chest and forget it for the next 7 days. At the end of the 7th day, it will give you an alarm saying remove it and give it back to the hospital. That's it. I mean, the process has to be as easy as applying a band-aid. Anything more than that today is a major source of irritation. And if you make people look through a complex manual, they are not going to buy your product. They're going to run away from you like there's no tomorrow.
Got it. No, that's very, very true, because also the customers or everyone's attention is reducing day by day, right? So there's a very small opportunity window to really make an impact. But if you do go by the trend, and many of these trends are ephemeral, right? So they might be just be there for a few months, but the investment and the efforts required for you to catch up that trend, if that's not what the customer wants, then you are really in a big trouble. So that's a really good insight. What would be the second do's which you would like to share with the audience?
So the second part is this: see, while people do depend on market research and questionnaires, it is very important for you to to try and figure out that part that the customer cannot spell out, saying, hey, this is my problem. So this is what we call in our field as unmet need. So what I am talking about is a technique which is what we call as a part of qualitative market research. In a quantitative market research, you have a larger sample. In a qualitative market research, you have much smaller sample. Like it's probably around 20-25 is a good enough sample size. So here what you do is you try and live a day in their life like their shadow. Just keep watching what they do, and while you are watching what they do not comment. A shadow doesn't comment, it just follows faithfully. When they are done with this, now you show them your record and you tell them, look, hey, this action looks really contorted, instead of putting your hand like this, why did you go and do it like that? And each of those things that is discomforting, that is a part of their habit. right? And each of the discomforts that they will tell you is your problem to solve. Now put those discomforts in with your management, with your product matrix, and find out what is it that you can do and get to the market fastest. And you
Got
have
it.
an amazing, the customer is willing to look to lap up your product. I would put it like that.
Got it. Got it. Excellent. So many a times, it also boils down to the fact that in any organization, be close to the customer, right? For example, in many organizations, you have the various market visits where maybe the CEO or CTO or others would actually go out, meet customers, get their feedback, understand, observe from the entire dealer channel, etc. Because everyone would have a certain aspect which probably but you did not know the context. And such direct feedback is of course useful, and as you mentioned, qualitative market research done in a professional way would also add to the overall perspective. That's fantastic. What would be the third do in your view?
All right. So throughout design education in India, we have been taught that you need to take care of ergonomics, you need to take care of manufacturing, you need to take care of this, you need to take care of that, and looks don't matter. And that is a big fallacy, because looks do matter. Because if your product doesn't look good, people are not going to look at it for a second time. So like the great Italian designer Sergio Pininfarina, he said this: you should, as a designer, you should be an artist first and an engineer later. Yeah, sure, make it economical to build, reliable to use, that's fine, but you have to make it look good. That is your first and foremost job, because a little bit of a discomfort here and there, people are willing to trade if the product feels right, if they are willing to flaunt it. So you have to do refining, you have to refine the design. That is, you make one design, look at each of the angles. Is the angle just about correct? Is the venting just about correct? Is the rounding just about correct? Are the features in place that are going to make a difference? Can I get it to be recognizable? So these are things that you need to do, so that people look at your product from outside, from within a crowd of products, and say, hey, this is the one I want.
Got it. Excellent. Yeah, so I think that's also.
Am I getting through?
Yeah. So that's also right. So essentially, all the complexities in a product, you don't have to show it to the customer, but you can keep it away. Just show what is relevant, aesthetically pleasing for them, right? Because many times, you're really thrilled about some kind of new engineering or technology which you put in the product, but that may not be relevant for the customer, right? So that's a very valid point. And many times, as engineering or as technologists, we fall in love with technology for the technology's sake, right? But if that's not linked with the customer, what the customer wants, then we are in a major problem. Coming to the don'ts, what would be the first don't you would recommend?
So the first don't is that don't jump the gun and start designing. You get a brief from the customer and say, okay, I got this looks done, let me just start with the concept. And you end up working for a week or two, and suddenly the customer comes back and he says, hey, this is not what we want, right? So what I always suggest is that take a step back, take the customer's brief, now break it down into actionable items. So there is a smart KRIs or KPIs, what is going on around. That is, your KPIs should be simple, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time bound. And I think that the first step is to interpret the customer's brief, convert it into smart. That is, it's each of the steps are broken down. They are easy to understand, they are easy to quantify, you can do them, they are realistic. It's not like I do something in AI and you get something which is, I know it's unmanufacturable, and I need to make this product within the next year and a half, otherwise my market opportunity is gone. So each of these has to be distilled down into creating a brief, because a good brief, how do I put it? In school, Ashish, we are always taught that the answer to a question is almost always within the question. So a good brief is exactly like that. The answer, that is your design, will always be specced out almost to the T with a good brief.
Got it, got it. That's a very right thing. And also, I think what you said about giving brief, that kind of really resonates. And I think it's not only limited to, even design, right? Don't jump the gun and start designing is true in many aspects, right? Because even when the customer says something, right, or the client says something, we have to go deeper and understand what actually he means, right? Try to distill down a level below. Great. What would be your second don't, which anyone should consider when looking at industrial design?
So if you look at my do's, the second most important do was, you have to unearth their unmet needs. And for that, you have to visit the end user, and you can't just walk to the end users and say, look, I'm going to study you today. So what we say is that, fix up an appointment with them, go and meet them first. Brief them that saying, look, tell a day of your convenience, and I'm going to come over here and I will have to videograph you. But I am here to improve your work life, and I will respect your boundaries. So this is one thing that is most important, and I'll just share a case for a surgery that we studied around in 2010. And we went to the doctor, we spoke with him in his cabin, we got him in confidence. The doctor and our recruiter spoke with the patient. They got him in confidence, saying that, look, we understand your privacy. At no point will your face be shown. At no point will any body marks, identifying marks will be shown in the video, because the video will get passed around in the company. And at the end of the day, it's when you are recording a surgery, you are literally going into the person's intimate aspects, right? So these are things that you have to be very careful with. So inform your subject that I am here for a particular reason, and that reason is to improve the experience with the tools that you have in hand, improve your life with some processes that we have found out and that you can use. And I am here that look, you are at the end of the day an expert. I am willing to listen to you, and I am willing to respect your boundaries. So these are some of the things that we should take care of before you go for a qualitative study.
Got it. And also, I think it's also important to note that there could be cultural differences, there could be linguistic differences, there could be multiple ways. And, you might be trying to do a qualitative research with a good intention, but that is also possible to be misconstrued by the customer, saying that, okay, this company is out to spy me. It could be anything, right? So again, that's a very valid point.
That happens quite a lot, and the prep meeting, right, is very essential to put them at ease.
Exactly. Yeah, great. What would be your final don't and your advice for industrial design?
So this is going to be a slightly spiky topic, but I am saying that don't succumb to the Apple syndrome. As designers, when you come out and you start practicing, whether in a company or whether as an independent freelancer, you will get customers who will say, make it like Apple, but they don't know what it means. I can't just put metal or precious materials or wood around something which has got an antenna, right? Antennas, as you know, Ashish, are a very finicky beast. They have their own life. Apple had a fiasco with the iPhone 4. If you did not hold the phone in a particular way, the calls would drop. So what is essentially an Apple experience is what you should educate the customer to distill to, not the Apple cosmetic experience. So the Apple experience is you got to club in the features that allow the person to do their task with the least amount of time, align it to your business goals, and don't prove on a flauntable product. Like, look, can I cut down some material costs here? Can I cut down this? Can I not have a little bit of a metal or paint or something over here? Because, the way Apple does is, sure, Android has a lot more features than Apple. Android gives USB-C type, USB-C in the USB 3 series. Apple gives USB-C in the USB 2 series. But you will not see anybody defend Android in the way people defend Apple passionately, right? It is because the person who owns Apple in his hand can flaunt it, which is not the truth with Android. Both have a market for themselves. But
Got
if
it.
you want an Apple experience, right, the goal is to create something that you can flaunt, and you should have a completely, I would say, a vertically integrated both product and experience chain like Apple.
Right, right. No, in fact, as a Apple fanboy, you can see all my products are Apple. So I can definitely agree with what you're saying, because
Right?
essentially, if you look at any of the communication, see, again, the whole beauty about Apple is right from the box, right? Even the
Yes,
boxes are collectible, right? Even after you remove the phone from the box, you keep the box at home, right? I
yeah,
wonder how many products does that happen, right?
exactly.
Or even if the stickers which come in the box are kept, right?
Yeah,
And even the things like even the updates. I was just telling someone that compared to normal things, Apple users actually look forward to a Apple update, right? Saying that,
yes,
okay, now we've got Apple Sonoma, okay, this is what's going to happen. Now we've got Apple 17, this is what's going to happen. So yeah, so the whole experience, it's a deep attention to details, everything synchronized, orchestrated in a way, in a beautiful way, blended together with customer in mind, right? And where, as you
exactly.
rightly mentioned, the customer has to have the least amount of effort and make it very easy, right? In fact, it also another interesting point, since you mentioned about that, if you look back in time and when Apple was launched, right, they actually created this whole concept of bring your own device, right? Because at that time the understanding was that consumer devices are something which are nice to use, and enterprise devices have to be really clunky, right? You remember the good old Blackberries, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. But then people who were kind of fell in love with Apple said, "That boss, I want to take this at work, right? So you please figure out how do you want to, do your stuff, your backend, your security, etc." So yeah, so it's not just one aspect wherein you say, okay, I want to do something like Apple, because otherwise you'd be a cheap rip-off in concept.
exactly.
Excellent, excellent, Prashant. So thanks. This gives a great perspective, and thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in. The presentation, the show call notes will have the presentation from Prashant with some bonus content that you should definitely check. Do subscribe, share, and like that podcast. It's available on Apple. Again, Apple Podcast. It's available on Spotify, YouTube, etc. Bye for now. Talk to you soon.